Hey, everybody. Some days it's hard to get up here, but I promise I'll be up every day. So today and yesterday have been pretty rough, pretty wild. Lots of liquidations, lots of downturns. Chris in the UK, appreciate you, and Angle Blackson, and Team Detesa, and Great Escape, and Sean Donnelly, and K8. But this is an interesting situation. I'm going to try to break it down for you all, exactly what happened, what went down, why it went down, and try find the silver lining, because a lot of crap happened yesterday that was not expected. What was expected was a 25 basis point cut. Yes, that happened. 93% of the time after a 25 basis point cut, the markets go up. That didn't happen yesterday because of some things that were said. And I'm going to talk about those too. And we'll talk about Bitcoin and charts and discover that silver lining. I promise you that. So let's get into it. This is called JP Tanks the Markets. Ooh, ominous. And not financial advice. Never is. Shout out to Patreon as well. Thank you so much, HODListics, for making this happen. It's fun to be part of the Patreon because you basically have the agenda for the day. Yoo-hoo. I like that. Yeah. You kind of know what I'm thinking. And days like this are hard, but please, everybody, reflect on the year we have had. This has been the most incredible year. In fact, 2023 was pretty damn good too. 2024, absolutely amazing. Things go up and then they go down, and the retracements in the bull markets can be even more vicious than in the bear, so bear that in mind too. Let's get into the Bitcoin news and exactly what happened, what went down. First of all, it's pretty clear. A lot of people say he's great and amazing and everything else. A lot of people think, well, he doesn't really control inflation. I'm one of those people that said 2% is a unicorn. He doesn't control inflation, but he can destroy demand. That's basically what he can do. Now, this is probably why he was very upset yesterday. He was mad. He was scaring the markets. He was prognosing things for 2025 that were pretty ugly. But you can see here, the yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury bond is over 4.51% after being as low as 3.6% on September 17th. That's the day before they started cutting rates. They have cut 200 basis points since then, and the 10-year is higher by nearly 100 basis points than it was on September 17th. The Fed controls its overnight rate, but not the long end of the curve. That's the 10-year long, out a long time, which largely determines the Treasury interest expense. They have no control, not only over inflation, they have no control over the long end of the curve. That's why he's upset. The deficits are going to explode because the debt of the U.S. is exploding. It is untenable. It is out of control. The pork bill that was issued yesterday, thousands and thousands of pages, full of garbage that people didn't vote for. Everything is about to change. This guy is not happy. Not happy because he can't get to his magical 2% inflation, and the labor market is a catastrophe, and manufacturing is a catastrophe. You don't see the true damage that's actually done. The only reason there's a positive GDP in the US is because of the crazy spending made on government jobs, nothing else. It's all farcical, but the truth is going to come out. It always does. And the other thing that upset the markets too, with double whammy, not only forecasting kind of a hawkish Fed for 2025, only maybe 2 rate cuts, but as I said here, it doesn't matter. They don't control the long end. People will demand a certain return on their money to overcome the debasement, which is 14%. So anyway, 3.5%, 4.5% doesn't even cut it. So you're losing anyway. Nobody wants bonds. They can't sell them. Therefore, deficits will spiral out of control. But he also said this, which did not help crypto and Bitcoin at all. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says we're not allowed to own Bitcoin, i.e. no Bitcoin treasuries, i.e. U.S. cannot buy Bitcoin. Okay, so there could be a little bit of a, let's call it a bashing of heads between DJT, the incoming fellow, remain nameless, and JP. DJT, JP in a cage match. That's bizarro world. It really is. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And even more than that, this is from Jim Bianco. Powell keeps trying to explain away why inflation is not a problem. The one-day tick chart of the 10-year yield shows how the market receives this message, i.e. his message is being rejected. Again, as I've said for years, he does not control inflation, but he can destroy demand. And when he destroys demand, he destroys jobs. And he's done that very well as well. That's basically how it works. 320 PhDs at the Fed have no control. No control. Here we are. So, at last. And the other bizarre thing, I don't normally do memes, but today I'm going to do two because they're very appropriate. What a difference a week makes. This is last week, $100,000 Bitcoin. Woohoo, from Not Your Own Pal, by the way. I thought that was very appropriate. And this week, 100,000. And I know we're under 100,000 right now. In fact, Bitcoin, as I speak live, is $97,000. It's 3,000 under 100,000. It falls 3.5%. People lose their minds. It was 108,000 2 days ago. That's what crypto is. It's volatile. Okay? And you're getting hunted if you're in leverage too. That's just the nature of the beast, which I've warned you about for years. Anyway, moving on. Zoom out. Make you feel better. And not only zoom out, zoom forward, because I'm going to get into some good stuff here in a minute too. But this is also very interesting. This is from Ki Young-ju. Again, my favorite crypto research analyst fellow from CryptoQuant. Strategic Bitcoin reserves debate has become a chicken and egg dilemma. Proponents, as the dollar dominance weakens, Bitcoin will become the inevitable alternative, therefore adopted early. And the opponents say Bitcoin threatens the dollar dominance, don't disrupt the status quo. The truth is, it's real simple. This is what the Fed don't understand. Although Jerome Powell did say 2 weeks ago that Bitcoin is not a threat to the dollar, it's a threat to gold, which we know, but it's also kind of a threat to the dollar. But fiat is going to zero. But you can make it not going to zero by embracing Bitcoin as a treasury reserve, which has been proven out many times this year as well. I made multiple videos on it. So have other people like Michael Saylor, like Cynthia Lummis, etc. Again, chicken and egg. You make your dollar stronger if you layer in a little sprinkling of Bitcoin. That's it. And then you make it more popular as a global reserve currency. Without that, the dollar will go to zero and the dollar will lose its status. And that's just a fact of life. Sorry for coming down hard today. It's been an emotional 48 hours for everybody. And I feel it. I get people's emotions. I absorb them. And I give them back to you here in a video. Now, the U.S. Strategic Reserve is not dead by no stretch of the imagination. All the papers there, all the papers have been written, and this is the executive order. I'm not going to go into detail, but if you want to read it, go ahead, hit pause, and read it away. It is still planned. Okay, my eye is sore, been up all night, so I just rubbed it, and it's gone all red. Sorry about that. Anyhow, forget the U.S. Strategic Reserve. Let's talk about some stackers happening as we speak. Now, this has been bubbling to the surface quite a bit. We had a lot of people like Ray Dalio in Dubai last week or the week before. I can't remember. He was there the weekend, so about 2 weeks ago. And apparently, I'm hearing more and more about Dubai having 300,000 Bitcoin. And then Trump is considering buying 1 million Bitcoin for U.S. strategic reserves. And this could send Bitcoin to $500,000. And this will not risk U.S. dollar dominance. In fact, it'll make it stronger. And global markets are at stake. No, they're not. Everybody just needs a piece to help survive the future. It's scarce. By virtue of its scarcity, it'll help everybody remain afloat. Now, if the news could not get any, I did promise you a silver lining. It might be a little bit more. It might be a whole silver cloud, in fact. Dutch government also want a national Bitcoin reserve from Cointelegraph. The Dutch government urged to establish a national Bitcoin reserve in an open letter. And by the way, the Dutch people are the most probably fanatical crypto people that I've ever come across in my life. And the writer proposed that the Netherlands acquire Bitcoin through the Ministry of Finance by selling a portion of their gold reserves. Da-da! Pair trade of the decade is no longer swapping from Bitcoin to Tesla. It's now swapping gold to Bitcoin. Then maybe Tesla. No. It's brilliant. Brilliant. Logical. But remember, governments are the furthest thing from logical. The government is all about the grift. As I've said many times, you will never meet a poor politician because of the grift. All right? Remember that. Not because that they're good at their job. And if it could not get any better, here we go. And another one. I don't want to say another one bites the dust, but sort of. Another state in the United States bows down to having a Bitcoin reserve. The state of Ohio just introduced a second bill for strategic Bitcoin reserves. What a time to be alive. So now we have Pennsylvania, Texas, Florida, and Ohio. Great state of Ohio. In fact, Pennsylvania and Ohio are very critical to things like elections. It's all happening. One of these states will topple first, then the others will follow very fast. It's the domino effect. It's what happens. Poland is looking at a reserve. Now Holland. And we have other countries already in. So again, every day there's more and more. But guess what? There's more. Even more. HODL, the Bitcoin miner, which used to be the biggest hodler on the planet before Marathon, they just dropped $100 million on Bitcoin. They bought 990 Bitcoin using their ATM, basically issuing shares to buy Bitcoin, which is what MicroStrategy do. Now, not only do they mine Bitcoin, they mine about 87 a month by my calculations, but now they hold 10,096 Bitcoin as of today. That's over 10,000 Bitcoin, which I'll show you in a second what that means in terms of market cap. And Marathon also did some snacking. They now are 66% Bitcoin, their balance sheet, by my calculations. And I shared the model earlier on Patreon. But they have raised, since the beginning of November, $1.925 billion, and they bought Bitcoin with it. Ta-da! Now they have nearly 44,000 Bitcoin. No, they have over 44,000. They have nearly, soon, 45,000 Bitcoin, which is big, which is real big. This is their most recent buy, $160 million. Shout out to Vivek as well, sharing their little wallet here and where they did a little more snacking. So literally, while the market is volatile, this thing is being gobbled up like I have never seen ever in my life. I've been watching this thing like a hawk since 2017. Now let's look at some numbers for the miners too. Now, I just do want to remind people, because a mining company may have a big HODL bag and they may have a large Bitcoin percentage as a percentage of market cap, does not mean they're a good miner. This is not a recommendation. This is not a top miner list. I want that to be very clear. Sometimes people get confused. But Marathon now have $4.3 billion in Bitcoin. They're also the biggest publicly traded miner on the planet. Their Bitcoin as a percentage of market cap is nearly 66%, 65.13. I round up to two-thirds. Two-thirds of their business, their valuation, is pure Bitcoin. Forget all their real estate, their IP, the other stuff that they mine, their rigs, their infrastructure, you name it. I guarantee you, they're probably selling under their intrinsic value. HODL is number 2 on the list at 44%. 44%? Very big. They have nearly $1 billion of Bitcoin. In fact, this model is tied directly to the real-time Bitcoin price. So once Bitcoin gets to 99,000, it will be over $1 billion of Bitcoin. Hive is number 3 at $250 million. CleanSpark is number 4 at actually, wow, CleanSpark have nearly $1 billion as well, but that's only 28% of their market cap. So again, you got to look at everything in perspective of the market cap, and some people don't hodl at all. And that is the Bitcoin miner list. I will be doing a quick miner update soon. Lots of weird stuff, some good stuff. Can they catch up to MicroStrategy? I don't know, but Marathon's getting pretty close there. Interesting to see. And Standard Chartered, shout out to Vivek once again. Standard Chartered prediction said that Bitcoin will hit $200,000 in 2025. It's going to 200,000. A lot of bullish calls, but sometimes we hear them a little too often. So I had a little dig back into history back in 2023, and Standard Chartered, guess what they said? And for 2024, they predict. Standard Chartered Bank predicts Bitcoin will hit $200,000 by the end of the year if the spot Bitcoin ETFs are approved. And they are. And not only that, but the spot ETF intake has been higher than their projection, but we're still not at 200,000. So again, predictions are just that, predictions. You know, sometimes they can be late, sometimes they can be wrong. So bear that in mind. But it's my job is just to share what other people are thinking and then benchmark that against what I'm thinking. Either way, it's crazy what's going on. Now, a little bit of a dark lining, not a silver lining, but this is from Joe Consorti. He looked at Bitcoin versus Global M2 with the typical time lag, 70 days, 75 days, 90 days, whatever you want to measure at. But two scenarios exist. One, Bitcoin will dislocate from global M2 thanks to Bitcoin native buy side. That's the stuff we just showed, everybody munching on Bitcoin. That can far overcome global M2 growth. Or it won't, which will bring the price down. I believe the former. I believe the demand far outstrips the supply. Follow the money. That's all you need to do. It's not hard. Now, a lot of news today. Another bit of dark lining too. Actually, it's actually a silver lining because this guy never misses. He is absolutely the best contra indicator you'll ever come across on the planet. Jim Cramer yesterday, extremely bullish on Jerome Powell and the Fed here. The markets will make new highs today. Boom! within an hour, the Dow Jones had its biggest crash since 2021. Think about that. He's just absolutely perfect. Perfectly bad. Perfectly wrong. Every time. Shout out to Jim Cramer. So whatever he says, just do the opposite. You'll be just fine. Pretty much. Let's look at some charts, ladies and gentlemen. Let's look at the Bitcoin black hole, because not only do we have Emirates and Poland and everybody thinking about reserves in Ohio today and everybody stacking, but the ETFs do not stop. The ETFs have taken in $6.3 billion in 13 trading days so far in December. That is massive. For the kids at home, homework time. I'll check your homework in the comment below. Divide 6.3 billion by 13. And don't ask AI to do it. Do it with a pen and paper. And then type it in the comment below. I'll check your work. Next, Blackrock is running away with all the demand. That's the red line there. Everybody else is kind of fizzling away. The whole, I call this the third biggest accumulation period, all that stuff on the right, is monstrous. It is far bigger than the summer accumulation, which is like a little snack compared to where we are now, and the beginning, the first 50 days. Since day 200, this thing has lifted off. We are day 226. 26 trading days of massive accumulation. Remember, that's trading days, so that's about 35, 40 days, depending on holidays, in actual calendar days. Crazy. And you can see here the pink proves the big phase 3 of accumulation is higher than ever before because the pink line is higher than ever before. The smiley face is now lopsided and largest, again, accumulation phase ever since day 200. 26 days, it's bonkers. And the amount of Bitcoin sucked in just 13 days is 63,000. If you want to do a double math problem, divide 63,000 by 13 to get the average amount of Bitcoin being gobbled every single day, which is about, by my calculations, 8 times daily miner issuance. Bringing you back to miners for 1 second, let's not forget, these firms that are supposed to be mining Bitcoin and pushing it out on the market are not only are they not selling the Bitcoin that they mine, but they're also buying more. Again, my crude analogy is a chocolate factory that makes chocolate is actually buying chocolate on the free market. Can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. And the miners have a finger on the pulse of where this thing is going. So where the supply is going to come from, if this continues in 2025, I have no idea. And that's when things like the Standard Chartered $200,000 price projection looks very, very believable. Very believable. Let's check in on the Bitcoin price. Just over 96K, sorry. Holding still. Now, a couple of charts I do want to show. We got to check in the top and bottom indicator first. And I decided to do something a bit different. I layered in the LILO model, layer in, layer out model, on top of the top and bottom indicator. You can see on the bottom chart is a TABI model, as we call it. It's orange. Okay, orange is basically stage 4. We have stage 5 and 6 left. I like to do things in sixes in terms of layers. So we apply the same methodology to this top and bottom indicator. After orange, we get dark orange, and after dark orange, we get red. Red is time to hit the ejector seat on the airplane before the plane goes down. And that's how this works. It's not hard. And the LILO model is the layers of where we believe this thing could go to based on assumptions and models. And this currently has us going to 146K. So for those who think the bear market has begun, no, unless all our models are wrong, which is also possible. Unlikely, but possible. You never know. We'll see. Again, the stacking is incredible. The miners are not selling. They're buying. Today, they're buying. Madness. So, just want to share that. Keep everybody calm. And for the veterans out there on the roller coaster, while everybody's screaming their heads off, you're just, yeah, it's a dip in the markets. We got this. Like Mr. Bean. That was the little thing I was trying to remember yesterday. So I decided to throw it on today. And let's look at some Bitcoin transactions too. Bitcoin transactions are up to 420,000 a day, which is good. The chain has been more active, which is very, very good for the miners. And shout out to Solana, 67 million transactions a day. Monstrous day indeed. Shout out to Sanjay as well for all this great information. Again, monstrous amount of transactions, and that will help the miners down the line. And there's a couple more little charts. A lot of people are still concerned about MicroStrategy debt levels. Let's put things in perspective. A lot of people sometimes get 20-to-1 leverage on a house if they put 5% down, or 10-to-1 leverage on a house if they put 10% down. Well, imagine Michael Saylor is buying Bitcoin with leverage. His mortgage is not 10-to-1 or 20-to-1. It's 15%, okay? 15%. The amount of debt that they have, 7.3 billion. The amount of Bitcoin they have is 44.2 billion. And that equates to about 16%, not 15%, 16% debt levels. And they could, if it was real estate, they could go all the way to 95% just to understand how this thing works. And there's no risk of liquidation unless, of course, Bitcoin goes to 16,000. Just to remind people, 16,000. Will it ever go there? If it does, it's going to zero. But I think the new floor for Bitcoin is around 70,000. You've heard it here first in 2024 a few times now. 70,000, the new floor for the Bitcoin price. As the price is 96 now. We're not too far away from it. But remember, the money is only just beginning to roll in. And it's getting more and more scarce every day. Final chart of the day from Archie. BlackRock wins with Bitcoin. Not gold so much. So after 21 years of stacking a gold ETF, they got to 33 billion. Just BlackRock, their ETF fund. And they got to nearly 60 billion in Bitcoin in 226 days. Not even a year. The greatest ETF launch ever. This thing is special. Very special. Very unusual. Larry Fink gets it. BlackRock get it. They're the biggest money runner on the planet. This will be a Bitcoin-only playlist up here afterwards. If you're interested in Bitcoin-only content, hit the like and subscribe. Thank you all. Be safe out there. Be Mr. Bean, everybody. You can also put your hands in the air if you want, if you're a little bit enjoying it too much on the roller coaster. This is a roller coaster. Hang tough. Be careful of leverage. Always, always. I'll stress that every day. Thank you to the 8,000 people watching live and the mods in the chat keeping us all safe. Hang tough. See you all tomorrow for Friday Fire. And it'll be fire. Not that this one wasn't. Take care.